Well, as consumers, they close in on crunch time for Christmas shopping. It's time once again to take a closer look at how some of the hottest holiday items get from the factory floor to a retailer near you. And this year, with supply chains normalizing a bit and inflation cooling at a lower cost. CNBC's own Eunice Yoon, Jane Wells, Pippa Stevens, and Courtney Reagan take us on the cross-Pacific and cross-country journey of the iconic Care Bear. And it all starts at a manufacturing site in China.
While the U.S. fights inflation, China struggles with deflation, and that's translating to lower pricing at the factories. During the global supply chain disruptions 2 years ago, the cost of making a Care Bear was up 25%. Today, it's back to where it was before the pandemic. Slower growth here has reined in material prices as well as workers' wages. And with U.S. orders harder to come by, factories compete with cut prices. Logistics costs are also in check. No more tight COVID controls, and shipping containers are plentiful at the Chinese ports. So products that had been held up for months on the factory floor in 2021 are now shipped out to America almost immediately.
Nowhere is the difference in the supply chain more visible than here at the ports of LA and Long Beach. When I was here 2 years ago, there were 65 ships anchored offshore waiting 10 days for an appointment. Now, I don't see anything, and ships are going right in. The UN says global trade is down 5%, and shipping container costs are down almost 90%.
50% of the truck gates go unused every day, and that means we have capacity.
In November, container volume was up 19%, but overall for the year it's still down. That's partly because labor tensions sent some ships away from the West Coast.
It's a similar story with trucks and trains. 2 years ago, there weren't enough as consumers loaded up. But today, there's too much supply and not enough demand. Volumes are down and spot rates have dropped 40% since 2021. With all this available freight, it's now cheaper to ship this Care Bear from the port to the warehouse and on to the final destination. But whether or not all these savings are passed along to consumers can depend on the retailer.
The journey for this Care Bear from a factory in China to a toy store like this Toys R Us on the East Coast is back to normal, now taking about a month. 2 years ago, it was twice as long, and transportation costs were making up almost a quarter of the bear's total cost. It's now down to 5%.
We're just seeing less pressure on the manufacturing cost and the transportation cost, a little bit more pressure on other areas of the supply chain, and also our customers are looking for more value, so we're being squeezed a little bit.
Toy maker Basic Fun was adding a transportation fee to retail invoices 2 years ago. Now those are gone. If you look at toy deflation, seasonal discounting, and consumers' desire for lower priced toys, you're going to find this bear retails for about $15 in most stores. That's down from $17 to $20 2 years ago.